Here now, Charles Hurt is a political columnist for The Washington Times, and Richard Fowler, senior fellow of the New Leaders Council. Both are Fox News contributors. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here today. Charlie, let me start with you. It should be no surprise that we have a very different policy under this administration.
Yeah, probably the starkest difference from one administration to the new administration, certainly in modern times. Look, the problem with these sentencing guidelines, though, is that they were put in place by Congress. They were voted on by Congress, duly passed into law. And so under the previous administration, you basically had the Attorney General and the President saying, look, I know Congress passed these laws, but, you know, we don't really need to follow them, forget about it. As Jeff Sessions said today, that's not justice. And what, and Donald Trump, his entire campaign was very much a law and order campaign. He promised to crack down on drugs. And I think if you wanted to see where the fruits of that sort of law and order stance can be found, look at the southern border right now. Donald Trump hadn't built 1 inch of his wall yet, and you're already seeing a 70% drop in illegal border crossings. Yeah. People hear these things and they act. They change their behavior accordingly.
Yeah, it's a verbal wall so far, and it didn't cost anything. Seems to be doing a pretty decent job. Richard, what's your take?
Well, I think you're mixing apples and oranges when you talk about the border wall to the policy that we saw released by Jeff Sessions. But more importantly, you want to look at the sort of spectrum on this. So Rand Paul released a statement today indicating it was unjust. The Koch brothers, their group, their outfit, also released a statement today condemning this particular move by the Justice Department. So when Maxine Waters, Cory Booker, and the Koch brothers and Rand Paul agree on something, I think there is a consensus. And the consensus here is that the war on drugs failed miserably, and rolling back to those type of policies is not only wrong for America, but it's wrong it's wrong all over the place, right? And here's a couple reasons why it's wrong, right? So beyond just this order he did with sort of putting everybody in prison, a couple weeks ago we also saw Jeff Sessions roll back the Justice Department's policy on private prisons. So when they arrest these people, they'll be going to private prisons, costing taxpayers 5 times the rate that a regularly federal prison would cost them. So this is problematic for so many levels.
Richard is right. There's a lot of people on very different sides of the political spectrum who do believe that some of this sentencing has been unjust and that it's not economically the best path for the country.
I don't know, though. Pushing Maxine Waters and the Koch brothers out there as evidence that something is politically popular.
And Rand Paul.
Exactly. It seems kind of, well, Rand Paul would be a better one to stick with, I think. But yeah, no, without a doubt. But the thing to remember here is, Donald Trump ran a very clear campaign promising to crack down on the drug trade. And I think that that was a cornerstone of his campaign. And I think that his, much of what he said, especially in regards to, drugs coming over the border and things like that, I think it's a big reason why he is president today.
Yeah, clearly following through on the promise from the campaign. You can agree with it or disagree with it, but that's what he promised. I got just a couple of seconds, Richard. Final thought.
Well, I mean, he might have promised it, but I could tell you right now, this is taking our country backwards almost 30 years. The war on drugs has failed miserably. It's locked up so many innocent people. And remember, the one thing that the audience at home needs to remember is that...
Except for the drug charges.
Excuse me. The one thing they need to remember is that drugs is not a criminal justice problem. It's a public health problem. Point blank, period.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Good to see you both.